So I'm here just to have a conversation. I'll avoid maybe doing slides and presentations, which I do a lot, but for such conversation, I want it to be very natural in a dialogue. So I was told to talk about goal setting. Mother have talked about maybe some keywords. Maybe I'm going to demystify them along the way. I'm passionate about big data, yes. I'm a data scientist as well, but I love transformation, and that summarizes it. I think there's nothing good in life like when your life is in the right direction. And I'm sure all of us, we will be very fulfilling. It will be very fulfilling for all of us when life, you're in control of things. If there's something that humanity strive for, is a strive for control. You want to be in control of what happens in your life, what to eat. You can afford to go somewhere, that is mobility. You have a control of where your children will go to school. You have a control of your health in terms of against diseases and ailments. You have a control of resources and specifically financial resources. I think if God gave us a control of everything, you'd be very happy people. But apparently, or unfortunately, that's the same thing that humanity strive throughout. We are all searching for some control. If you are somebody, why are you looking for a job? It's because I'm looking for a financial freedom. Why are you starting a business? Because I need to survive and I'm in control that I can afford my bills. I can earn life. That's purely a control conversation. Where do you want a promotion? I want to go and do my MBA, and maybe some of us are setting such goals. I want to do your master's, you want to do your PhD, and you ask people, why are you doing it? And they tell you, I want to get more salary increment. I want to probably earn more, and therefore go through the management and leadership ladder so that, of course, I can be able to live better life. In short, we are all in pursuit of control of our lives. Apparently, that's something that can go on and go on until we are normal in terms of our life. So when you talk about goals, of course, it's one space that God has given us an opportunity to be able to have a sense of control of our life, but not really the full control. It's a control that is delegated, of course, because it's God who knows about tomorrow. So when you are seated here and you are a farmer, and I do a little bit of small-scale farming, and you go to the shamba and you go and plant seeds. And if somebody asks you, why are you planting these seeds? And you tell them, because in May, I want to harvest some cabbages, and I'll have an event in June, which I don't want to buy cabbages. It's like you already have a future right now. So you're sowing with a belief and faith that is going to germinate and is going to be watered, weeded, take the right nutrients from your soil, and maybe by the month of May, you are there harvesting. But there is no full 100% control of the same in terms of whether what you plan is going to succeed. And that's the kind of ambiguity of life where we live in. However, I am also privy that every effect has a cause. So where you are in your life right now, it's a product of many decisions you've made over a period of time. Accumulation of so many little decisions. Decision to have connected with some people, decision to have chosen a certain direction of your course, decision to have migrated from some place to another place, and all those build up into where you are right now. And even now as you speak, the decisions you're making, even the decision even to have tuned into this session today, that decision have effects way downstream, because there could be one word that will transform your mindset, and you might live your life as an outcome or in manifest of a decision that you made today. And I'm hoping that that is going to be so in this session. So I love mindset transformation because I believe that it's within the thought process that we kind of shape decisions we make, and in turn, the reality of life. Now, goals, of course, we know are one way to exercise our faith. And I want to say that from a biblical truth, because I believe in the Bible, that when we have our desires and translate them into goals, it's actually an action of faith, because you set up a plan, and this is how I'm going to succeed in a certain way. However, this is where the catch, and I think I started the conversation with a kind of a conversation around direction. If your life is in the right direction, you'll be very happy. Now, question is, are the goals you're setting heading the right direction? And I want to give you some stories here, just maybe you get some perspective. I do purpose coaching, and I know it's a not very popular coaching direction, because there are other life coachings, that people do there. But my commitment is to help people discover their life purpose, and also how they leverage, whether it's their career, for those who are in business, your business, to be purpose-led business, or to have a career that is also purpose-led, so that you can be able to live a fit life. Fit life, F-I-T, fit. The fit life is fulfilling, impactful, and transcendent. Fulfilling means, of course, that you have the joy even as you do whatever you do. Impactful means that you're impacting the environment around you and people around you. Transcending means, of course, it lives beyond you. That's what we call the fit living. And that's my mandate in terms of my life assignment. Now, 2 years ago, I was just after COVID, I was coaching as a senior leader in a business somewhere, a big organization. And he had approached me in terms of a goal that he wanted just to get to navigate, to get through into a CEO role. So he was a senior leader in a certain organization. He wanted to, and he had a desire to become a CEO. We went through a process, of course. You set goals, and hold him accountable quite often. We evaluate the barriers, and you calibrate, go in an iterative way, calibrate. And within 2 years, early last year, precisely, the person got a job and was able to get a role as a CEO in one of the leading organizations in Kenya. Now, when he got that position, we evaluated the success 6 months afterwards. And he came and asked me, Gabriel, I appreciate that I had come to you earlier, and there are things that I was struggling. I wanted to have strategic thinking, how to do organizational leadership, many components that in the corporate space, which we interact with a lot. And he got it. But 6 months after getting the CEO role, actually, literally, he gave me a feedback. He told me, I've discovered actually I did not need to become a CEO to really get fulfilled. In fact, I'm thinking like probably earlier, I had more better opportunity. So I've climbed the ladder, I'm in that corner office, and I don't know exactly what I'm looking for. So I asked him a simple question, which I had asked before we started the coaching conversation, because that's a question I always ask. And I always ask the question, why? Why did you want to become a CEO? And of course, that time he gave me some explanation. Oh, he has been there for 5-10 years in a senior leadership. He feels he can be able to provide leadership overall. All those, everybody has a way in which it can give results. And I said, okay, well, I'm a coach, and therefore we are going to go through the process. And I'm sure likely you're likely to succeed. Of course, no guarantee, but at least you can behave as a CEO even if you don't get the title. And true, that happened. But then when that reality of the goal, this is a successful goal now, not like where we are talking about goals that are not successful. I want to begin with successful goals. So the goal was successful, but the why still had an issue, because he could still not answer that question. Why do you want to become a CEO? So he became the CEO. However, after that position, still he found emptiness, because we think maybe the position will give you the fulfillment. Apparently, it didn't work out. So the person is saying, I think I could still have achieved much, even in an earlier position as a director or a senior leader. I didn't have really to become a CEO. Now, what was the challenge there? The challenge is direction. Because direction is better than speed. That's what we say. You can succeed in the long direction. And the statement I want to open up with, because this conversation I know we can do part 2 and part 3 and part 4, so that at least we're able to get through the whole dimension of paradigm shifts in our thinking. Direction and foundation are the key pillars for success in life. So there are people who are in an express lane, moving too fast in the long direction. And I have met such people. So where it's nothing to do even achieving the goal. They had a goal. You have a goal maybe to visit one of the best tourist attractions in the world, and you get it. You have a goal to one day get a family. You have a goal one day to finish your PhD. You have one goal to publish a research paper. You have one day a goal to become a CEO, to get promotions. Nothing wrong with those things. And they can be successful. Question is, you can succeed, but in the long direction. And I think as we talk about the art the science in goal setting. We need to grapple with some of these things. I was in Uganda last year, but when 2022, when COVID ceased, and I was in Kampala. I met somebody in a hotel, and this is a very successful business person. We met in the balcony somewhere, and we were just observing nature. It was in a golf course, and we were just just observing things. And then in that conversation, I introduced myself. By the way, my name is Gabriel. I'm a purpose coach, and this is what I do. I'm here for this mission. What do you do? Can I know about you? And he disclosed to me about himself. He's an old guy who is approximately around 60 years thereabout. Then I asked him, how is business? We're just recovering from COVID. I hope business is resilient and you're recovering. And then I know we just talked, just on normal business networking. And he told me, yeah, business is doing well. Actually, we have grown so much. Then I asked him, why are you in that business? He's at certain business which is quite in the innovation space in around 5 countries. Then he asked me, you told me you are a purpose coach. Can you tell me more about that? And of course, I introduced myself in terms of why I do that purpose coaching. Then he told me, Gabriel, now, let me share with you something vulnerable. I feel right now I'm very successful. I'm running a very successful business. We are in over 5 countries. But I was happier 10 years ago. So I looked at it, okay, 10 years ago, you are happier. That means that back in 2012, you are happier. 10 years ago, I asked him why. He told me, you know what? 10 years ago, our business had grown. We were in around 4 countries by that time. We had grown. I had around 30 employees. He's a founder of that business. And by that time, we had made enough money, even for myself, now this is the founder of the business, that my 4th generation could comfortably be sustained without working. In short, if you translate that statement, telling you this guy had made enough billions of money. By that time, that is 2012, he had made enough money that even his own 4th generation, even if they decide to eat $1 million every year, or every month, or every day, they cannot exhaust his wealth. It's a serious business person. Then I asked him, okay, so that is 10 years ago. Tell me more about now. So you should be probably more happier. He told me, no, I was happier 10 years ago. However, right now we have grown even 10 times than we were in 2012. So we embarked on a strategy and we succeeded. We scaled the business in multiple regions. We are doing innovative products. We are serving wider in terms of regional business markets. And we have 10 times grown. However, I actually am looking to sell the business. I'm looking to sell the business. I asked him why. I don't know exactly why I do what I do. Because I think I started for money, and therefore 10 years I already made enough money. So what now? Because you're still making more money, but I don't know what to do with the business. I'm talking to a serious guy here. And I looked at him, I felt pity in terms of, wow, that's a different headache. When others are having a headache of how to barely survive, how to keep your business afloat, you're saying the business right now, it's a headache to you. Get that point? The business become now a headache. Why? Why I started it for, I already fulfilled it 10 years ago. I don't necessarily even have to work, even wake up every day to do the business. So I asked the simple question to him, why did you start the business? And he went silent. And he told me, when you talked about purpose, is actually why I decided to open up to this, because I saw later I didn't start the business with a clear conviction of what I was trying to address in the market. Was I starting the business to solve an issue in humanity, or was I starting for myself? Now, where am I bringing this story? I know, yes, we say less than, I think it's around 87% of goals get even achieved. It's okay, but I wanted to start from the other side of, there are even goals that are achieved, literally, and I have met them, and I have seen people who had goals that put in strategy, have the right principles of operating and execution their goals, and they succeed, and still they feel empty at the end of the day. So as we are grappling on one side that we are not fulfilling our goals or we are not meeting our objectives, there are other people on the other side who even meet and still they find voidiness in the process. And I have learned this in a hard way in terms of direction is very important. And one of the things I want to raise here, which could be science on art at the same time, is actually the aspect of the direction. If somebody is to ask you why, I have coached and met people who are doing their 3rd masters I've met a guy who is doing his third PhD. And he's telling me, Gabriel, I'm serious. I don't know exactly. I had a goal. I wanted to become a doctor. Yes. And after I did it, I got this job in a government or UN or whatever else. But then after some time, I think I need to move from here to environment. I want to do a PhD in water environmental sustainability. And then at a point, I think they're doing something on strategy and doing a research. I don't know, on renewable energy. I've met such guys. And they are busy hoping and moving from one goal to another. And not that they don't succeed. They succeed. But still, they are not fulfilled. What is the missing conversation there? The direction. And I want to submit to you for the direction here is more to do with your purpose. If you're not clear about your purpose, setting goals will always become a roller coaster. And you'll be on a treadmill where that treadmill is moving and you're jumping, like in the gym where you have the treadmill jumping, mistaking motion with the progress. So goals help us set ourselves into motion, but it doesn't mean simply because you're in motion, you're succeeding in your life. I know this could be a bit of a heavy things to stomach and to digest because probably we may have been exposed into another angle, another school of thoughts. But it's always to make sure at least you start right. And we're beginning of the year, we're in February, it's not too late. You need to ask yourself that question. I have a goal, let's say you have a goal to build a house. You will build a house and you have met people who have built houses and they bring their children up, and after their children have gone, these guys they are all the same guys going back to stay in studio houses. It was actually like a bed sitter where they began, and they release their big houses to become B&B. But as we are here with a goal, I want to build a house. Question is, why? And this is a very, very heavy conversation. Because if you set a goal that is not aligned to your life purpose, in direction of your purpose, you will succeed. Especially if you're, and I'm going to give you some platinum goal setting pointers, which maybe you can take home and being able to align with your life. However, even if you succeed, but those goals were not aligned to your line direction, automatically, you will still not get fulfilled and you'll go back to square one. So you'll be in 60 years old after retirement, still calibrating the goals again and thinking that maybe you have not succeeded. I worked in the banking as a HR, and one time I was a HR BP in a bank, and back around 2007, I was in an organization where we did a retrenchment, and we were laying off around 100 plus people. And these are people who had worked for many years, 20 years, 30 years, and I was young, in my mid-20s. So apparently I was in charge of employee benefits that time. So I was calculating terms of benefits for people when they are leaving, 100 of them plus. And we're taking them through a whole outplacement services, meaning prepare them financially, how to manage their retirement, all those things were done perfectly well, tick, tick, everything was green. But when they were leaving, I happened to talk to approximately 97 of them. They sat on my desk and we have conversation. And out of the 97, 94, because I remember I love numbers, I love data. So I was tracking the feedback because I also wanted to learn from that experience. 94 of them were very bitter. Bitter means they were hating why they were going home. Some of them have worked even for 27 years, 30 years. Very few of them had served less than 10 years. But they were so bitter about the organization laying them off. Oh, it's my boss who gave my name to be declared done to, go through this process. It was very, very, very heavy conversation. So I started probing them, and one lady opened up to me, and she had served 27 years, and she had done very well in terms of successful living. She had built her houses with no loan. Actually, she had cleared all the mortgage. She was driving a good car. Her children were actually out of school and they were all working abroad, not even locally. They were all working abroad. She was an empty nest, if you understand what I'm saying. Empty nest. Purely you have nobody depending on you right now. And in addition to that, she was taking home several seven figures. Those are in terms of millions. She was taking home several figures as a severance package. And she had invested heavily. She was a railroad, learning some few estate property. She was running a ranch somewhere, several tens of acres, doing a good farming venture. But she sat on my desk and I was young. I got confused because when she told me that, I got confused because she told me, Gabriel, I'm happy that the bank is giving me this. However, I still feel I'm going home empty. I'm going home empty. As a young person, 20s, just imagine I'm in 20. I was a section at that time. I got confused. Why? I thought I'm also working and set goals to become like this person, to be a railroad one day, to own lunch, to have my children go to school, best school, and they're working abroad, to get several millions as my package for retirement. I thought that's why I'm working, actually. So question is, why are you telling me you're feeling empty? And you know that thing really bothered me, because I saw somebody who is successful and a model on what I was even desiring at that age. I wanted to be successful. I want to be successful. That's a prayer and a desire for everybody. Then I meet somebody who is actually all the things I'm thinking to dream about. Tick, 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 tick. Children educated in the best schools. You are a landlord. You are running businesses. You are taking home good liquidity in terms of cash flow. Then you are telling me you feel empty. You know, I got completely discouraged. And for the next 5 years after that time, between 2007 to 20, around 11 there, I was busy searching myself to understand, how can you say you are feeling lost? How can you feel you're feeling empty when all the things that everybody is chasing, they are all green? It did not make sense to myself. I thought you would be able to go and enjoy life, retire honorably, visit sites, sightseeing, visit the world, write books, journal your life, all those things. But this person is telling you is unhappy. And why am I bringing this? Because I know the topic is the art and science of goal setting and whatever, and I'm going to get there in a few. But I want to give a very good foundation that if your goals are not found on a certain solid foundation, still you will not be fulfilled. You will achieve them, yes, if you follow the right principles. But if those goals are not anchored on why God created you, still you'll find some emptiness in your life. And I will hate it that if anybody who have attended our sessions here and what our partners here are doing, you fall into that trap. I want to share something that maybe we can begin a conversation. You tell me what you see on that screen. I hope you can see my screen. So yes. Let's open up. What do you see there? I'm sure some of you have seen some of these good illusional whatever images. What do you see? Because you're not many of you, I can mention your names here. We are not many, so let's engage. I'll be excited to engage all of you. Let's start with Anne Musau. What do you see on the screen?
Frog.
Sorry, I don't know whether I got you.
Frog.
A frog, good. Christine Moasia, what do you see? Just shout one word and move on. What do you see?
You're on mute, Christine.
You're on mute, Christine.
I'm seeing a frog.
Okay, a frog. Sylvia Mwawunda, what do you see?
A frog.
A frog. Nancy Mora.
A frog.
All right, Betty Ochel. As frog in a swampy mud area, in a swamp area. Good. Betty Ochel. You can type of a postcode. If you can't speak, just type it. Eileen, Radia, Riberia, briefly, shout, what do you see? I can see some charts already. A frog, a frog. Thank you, Betty. Good. So, good. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. Now, I want to put a statement, which is very important, because as I said when I was beginning, I said, I love mindset transformation. How you see the world matters a lot. I do consultants, therefore I spend a lot of time with business people, corporate, organizational leaders, boardrooms, with board members, with the CEOs, with directors of businesses. And I can tell you, like the last 2 years, especially last year, I meet different types of entrepreneurs and business leaders. And there are those who think things are crashing. When you listen to them and they have evidence, they have facts. But I always say fact does not necessarily mean it's true. Okay, simply there's facts, doesn't mean that's truth. So they tell you why the economy is crashing and why things will not work, why we are heading to the south. I come from that boardroom, I go to another boardroom where now these guys are telling me this is the best time we've ever had in our life. Economy is good. In fact, we are innovating. We are coming up with solutions, global solutions. We are making fortunes. People in the same economy, governed by the same president, governed by the same constitution, by the same rules of the land, and everything else tick the same. But they are seeing the world completely different. Now, even your goal, you can set goals that are just based on what you see and how you see the world. Doesn't necessarily mean that is true, because facts are not necessarily truth, but all truth are supported by facts. So truth is factual, but not all facts are true. Let me tilt this image. You tell me now what you see. So you can only see what you know. So if you have read in your life, when you are young and you have lived, seen frogs in the mud area, you've created a frame. And that frame helps you interpret reality. So you see things in the reality that's already fed in you, and that shapes your belief system. And unless something happens to kind of shift your thinking and your mindset, you are likely to take what you know. In fact, knowledge holds you a slave. And that's why education system is very dangerous. It's one of the dangerous weapons in the world. Because the way you view the world sometimes is shaped by what you know. And what you know is shaped by who introduced the knowledge to you again. So when you start looking at that, if the knowledge you know is not absolute truth, then you interpret reality based on that knowledge. And you become a slave on what you know. And you only see life in what you know. Now you can see a frog, because that's more familiar. Your brain circuitry, which is the system in which your brain operates, the neural system within your brain, record and observe images and record them as templates. And over time, when you get used to that knowledge and exposure, it will become your reality and it will hold you captive. So even when a frog is setting goals, it will set the goal based on the frame of that. And I mean that these two are not true. But on the other side, if you just shape, tilt the image, and then you have a horse, completely the worldview changes. Now you see a horse. So the thing is, what has changed? The view. Because how you see the world matters. And maybe you are going to have, as I said, we can run this goal setting for even five parts, part 1, part 2, part 3. There's a lot of things to focus on, especially to make sure things start right. There's a statement I always say, things don't go wrong. And I want you to take that as a point, as a takeaway. Things do not go wrong. They never go wrong. Things always start long. So I don't want to start here telling you 5 steps to make goals. I'll tell you I have enough content for that. But if the foundation is wrong, I'm not going to be of help to you. I'm not going to be doing justice. So the first thing that you always need to challenge anything in life is actually the faculty of your worldview. How do I see the world? Because how you see the world, if you see the world as a place where we came for survival, you're going to set survival goals. If you see the world as a place where we came to dominate, like the Bible tells us, we got as a position as here in dominion and to expand his kingdom, you're going to set goals for dominion. If you see the world as a place where everybody is an enemy, and anybody who you see and meet in the street and your neighbor, including your neighbor, is an enemy, you'll set defensive goals. So you are setting goals based on that everybody is an enemy, so I need to safeguard and protect myself. That's why you may want to sit, go and stay in a gated community with 50 feet tall wall because you are unsafe. You can't mingle with the people. So even your goals become more as a reflection of what is within you. And that, of course, may not necessarily be sustainable. So, but it's always good to challenge your worldview. Now, the best worldview is when you know, of course, who you are, why you are here on earth. Every one of us has the right purpose to be able to fulfill on earth. And when you fulfill that purpose, you get fulfilled. That is the best worldview to have. That you came here for an assignment. You owe the world. So when you're setting goals, your goals should be aligned to what did I came here to the world to do? Did I came here to survive? And I'm going to show you another slide we can discuss quite often. Did we come here on earth to survive? Now, tied to this is also another angle I want to reflect, which might shape our reality in terms of how we view life. And when you're setting goals, you could also set goals based on where you are coming from. And there are goals we call directional goals. Now, you can set goals in two ways. One, away from goals. And get me that? Away from goals. And I want to talk about that in a few. Away from goals are goals you set as you're trying to come out from a situation. Let's say one time you are in debt. Now you find you setting goals away from debt. So you'll be saying, I don't want to be in debt. So I'm setting goals to come out of. And that can shape, again, how even your goals will look like. So you have what you call away from goal. This is informed by your past experiences or outcomes. And it gives you what you call a push force to get out of something. And I want you to rationalize. I'm sure if I ask you I'm sure most of us have already said, I don't like setting resolutions. I like setting goals. Maybe if I to share my experience, I'm one of the people who don't set annual goals per se. I set a bit more wider, meaning I set goals for like 10 years. Like if you ask me, I have set goals between 2021 to 2030, 10 years. So I have 10-year aspirations, literally. For me, year on year is more of how I adjust. So I have a 10-year decade, and even myself and a family, we did this. My wife sat down, calibrated when you were crossing over between 2020, just when COVID actually was striking. We set for ourselves some 10-year goals. Just so we have the government have 2030, Vision 2030. We have our own Vision 2030. And in between there now, there are some calibrations of some shorter term milestones. That's how I do it. I don't necessarily put in only 1 year on its own in terms of disjointed from the rest. So I have a life goal, which is for the entire life, then divided into decades. Okay. I find it there because I have a lifetime assignment, but I have multiple of, what you may call seasons. So I set more seasons, that's 10-year seasons. And then I'll of course calibrate year-on-year initiatives that I undertake, and they are more focused around improving myself. Now, depending on where you are coming from, I ask people sometimes when they are setting some financial goals, and they tell me, my goal is to bring my family out of poverty, just because you are born in a poor family. So if somebody asks you, why are you setting that goal? You'll say it's because I am running away from poverty. Now, look at it. If you check, and this is, I think, an image given out in many cases. If you check a lion chasing after the rabbit or chasing after the antelope is running away from the lion. But it's another angle. So he's fighting for his life. The antelope is fighting for his life. But the lion is chasing, is moving towards, and those goals, we call them towards. And towards are more a pull force. Now, if we have time, we can talk about these two forces. Goals can be push force, and they can also be pull force. I always prefer to work with a pull force because pull force are more visionary. They are more based on a future that you have not yet lived. Now, the challenge with the away from goal, and I don't mean you don't set away from goal. No, you can set away from goals. However, the away from goals sometimes can be limited because they may be based on your context of life. I was to be auctioned, I want to come out of debt. So you're just surviving to come out of a situation, to come out of a pit or something like that. But the towards goal bypass where you're coming from, and they are informed by a very future vision that is aligned to a certain purpose. And that gives you a pull force. And that denies or kind of eliminates what you call victim mindset. One of the hindrances of succeeding in goals is the victim mentality. Now, when you embrace a victim mindset, it's where you want to blame everybody for your failures or your situations. And that's very dangerous. So the away from goal, sometimes there's a tendency, and you hear these people saying, there's a new year. I want to get rid of all my enemies, my haters. I'm sure how many of us have haters here?
They're important.
They're important, exactly. In fact, thank you so much, brother. You know why? In fact, you need haters, and that's what I wanted to drive. Don't run away from issues. Ask yourself, these issues are helping you become what? Because when you focus on what they are making you become, I love science, and therefore I study a lot of things in scientific. I love some very quantum physics. this neuroscience and all that. And if you study the gut is your digestive system from the mouth to the, the end of the tunnel. If you study the gut, do you know your gut, I think, maybe carries all the microbiome and microorganisms in the whole world, even some you have never known. It has millions and millions of micro, whether it's bacteria, fungi, everything. Call them. They are in gut. But if you study people who tell you about the gut, they tell you the gut is one of the most important organs we have. From the gut, actually, you go to the brain. Those two, they are very critical organs. Now, if the gut does not have that microbiome ecosystem, those bacteria, if one day you clear those bacteria, do you know what? You are the most vulnerable being in the world. And even a small flu will kill you. A small infection will kill you. So you need the bacteria, which you may think they are harmful, but these are actually good things you require. Now, the same case to life. If I remove all the enemies, all people you call haters from your life, maybe your goal is to remove all your haters. Kindly don't do such kind of a goal setting. You are removing the most important thing in your life because people who oppose you, actually, they are very important. You only need to know how does that experience change you. Of course, you can put your boundaries, nothing wrong with that. But if you remove them, do you know what? That's how you build your immunity. That's how you become a better leader. If you have never read difficult people, let me tell you, you can never become a leader. You need difficult people for you to be better. And when you succeed, actually, you celebrate. Now, so instead of looking at, I want to get rid of haters, ask for God to give you wisdom to deal with diverse people who, in fact, we usually say people are not difficult. They are mainly different. When you check that mindset of seeing people be difficult and now start seeing people as different, I don't mean they don't bring difficulty. That's a reality. People may be different and their difference bring you difficulty. That's a different conversation. But then you elevate yourself to a level where you're seeing, how can I have opportunity to improve myself so that I can handle more difficult people? Let me tell you, that goal is likely to be more successful than the one of saying, I want to get rid of these calamities, of these, germs, of these viruses, of these haters, those things. So try to have a balance. I don't mean you don't need away from goals. Remember what I said in the beginning. But you need to have the right mindset when those goals are being set. Because if your goal is to remove long relationships in your life, let me tell you, you'll have that as your full-time JD. It's like going to the ocean with a bucket, and you're trying to drain what? The ocean. Because the world is full of such. In fact, that's the reason why you're there. You're also difficult to other person. I usually tell people, when you're saying you want to get rid of haters, there are also people who you yourself, you are the hater, they are removing. So I don't know who is removing who. Because there are people who try to get rid of you. You never know. You don't know. So I want to change your shifting when it comes to goal setting. Always have a sense of a future first. So you're saying, I want to become this business leader. I want to become this influencer. I want to become this impact agent in future. And then I'm calibrating my journey now towards that in terms of the goal. But if their goals are informed by a victim mindset, you are running away, let me tell you, you will get tired. And at one point, you become a prey. The lion will always get, at one point, the lion will get hold of that and become a prey. So the thing is, you need to make sure the direction is more clear than just the speed. Otherwise, you'll be running at speed, but in the wrong direction. I don't know. I hope I'm shaping up, because I want this to be part one of another part two we are going to share about the same goal setting. Because when things are started right, they become more better in terms of how you navigate through life. Now, so that I do just because you might be asking, Modon, why did you invite this guy? He has not yet told us about now the real goal setting and all that. I want to give you some takeaway things. I'll just do like 2 sessions, then I can narrow a Q&A session, okay? So that I can do justice. But of course, we can dissect more in the subsequent engagement. So there are a few things I want to talk about. Then I'll give us something we call platinum goal setting checklist. I will not exhaust, but just to leave you with something. Let me talk about some realities first. They could be around the 6 realities. First is, of course, I've already told you one. Direction and foundation is better than speed and motion. If you're writing, put that somewhere else. I have a slide, but I don't want to show it for now. So direction and foundations are better than speed and motion. So set goals that are more laying a foundation, because that's going to guarantee your sustainability, and also clarity of the direction itself. Why? And the best thing is ask yourself the question, why? So you want to finish an MBA. Why? Then follow the question why with so what. Hope you follow that. So that's the part for direction. So ask yourself, I want to finish my MBA. Why? Then number two, you may get an answer there by say, because I want to qualify and then I want to get a promotion. So what? Then repeat that same why again, and then so what? By the time you reach the third one, I think I may have to have a conversation with you in a private coaching, okay? You'll find how empty sometimes these things become. So if you ask yourself, why do I want to achieve this? So what? And then another why, and then so what? By the time you're doing the third iteration, kindly DM me, I may want to have a conversation. You start seeing things very differently in terms of life. And you discover some of the things we are chasing are actually not really important. And when it filters you to focus on what it matters, you discover your energy and your focus is going to guarantee results. So that's first one. Do not mistake direction with speed or motion. And motion does not necessarily mean progress. So direction and foundation are better than speed and motion. That's number one. Number two, which is tied to number one, is the fact that you're doing a lot more doesn't mean you are getting a lot more done. Hope you've noted that. The fact that you are doing a lot more, so your day is well engaged, doesn't necessarily mean you are getting a lot more done. Meaning you can be busy, but not productive. And also you can be productive, but not perform. So it's not about being busy. Sometimes you find goals where people have pack of things and they'll tell you how many things they are doing. And just because they have motion, meaning they are busy, they're waking up every day, they are sleeping at night. You're leaving job at 5 and you're getting into another job in the evening. And again, you're going to an MBA virtual class. Busy does not necessarily you're getting more done. So you can be busy, but not in business. The first busy is SY, B-U-S-Y. Ness, business. You can be business, meaning you are just busy, but not in business, not creating value. I'm going to show you a slide later for that. Then, of course, I'll tell you, foresight and imagination is more impactful than knowledge. Foresight and what you may call imagination, seeing ahead, is more impactful than knowledge. Because when you know something, that becomes history. You've already known it. It is how that knowledge helps you to have a foresight. You may call it liberation. And when you're setting the goals that are more from a foresight, it's much more impactful than just an. Apparently, we live in a world of too much knowledge, too much information, too much knowledge. People have big heads. They have too much knowledge, but no accountability to the knowledge. So knowledge should demand accountability. Simply because you know something does not necessarily liberate you. Otherwise, you have this doctor who knows that smoking is bad, but the doctor will tell the patient, stop smoking. But the doctor, after the patient consultation, the doctor go to the balcony and take a puff. Is the doctor ignorant? Is it lack of knowledge? No. And nowadays, we are no longer impressed by knowledge because you can know too much. But if the knowledge does not transform you, that knowledge is not important. Number 4, any product of design, and a design means created order, any product of design can only achieve its highest potential if the conditions that created it are all fulfilled. I don't know whether that statement makes sense. Any product of design or a created thing, we are created. This phone is manufactured, of course, it's made. But even anything that is made from a design can only achieve its highest form of potential, highest performance, if the original conditions that created it or that made it are all fulfilled. So this mobile phone will only achieve its own. Right now, it's already overheating because I think I'll put it somewhere next to the van of the laptop, and I think it's already heating. If the original condition of this phone are not met, this phone will hang and it will never achieve its maximum potential. I'm reading this just to pose you a question. What are your original condition of creation? How are you created? Who are you? If you're not clear about who you are, forget about achieving maximum potential. Because you need to look at when you came to earth and God allowed you to exist here and to live here, the condition in which you are created who you are, that's an identity issue, determines how you optimize your potential. There's no way a fish can succeed in climbing the tree. Never. If it's competing a fish, you're competing with a bird in the air, it will never. But when you go to the water, a fish can never compete with another, mainland animal. It will never. But the original conditions that created it are all fulfilled in that environment. So you achieve the maximum potential. Now, some of us are trying to craft some goals that are outside our original condition of how we are supposed to be. So you end up trying to succeed in the wrong direction again. And that becomes like the examples I gave you in the beginning. So you can succeed, but in the wrong direction. I hope you take note. That's number 4. Number 5, it's the version of you has actually contributed to the outcomes and the experience, into bracket reality, that you are facing right now. The version of you, the current version of you, or the version of you that you have been before, has actually contributed to the outcomes and the experience, life experience, actually, that you're experiencing. So if you're broke, check. Don't try to blame somebody. There are decisions you have made based on, again, on the version of you. What am I trying to bring here? Who you are becoming is more better than what you are doing. Who you are becoming, the version of yourself. If there's a goal you can set for yourself, is actually the goals of you, the version of you. When you have the version of you, you won't struggle succeeding in what the version of you can sustain. That's why you find people who win jackpots. They win this lottery. Somebody earned 20 million overnight. At 20 million jackpot, meeting somebody who is not even ready, the version of the person is not ready to handle, it's still a 100,000 version. And when the two meet, it cannot sustain. These guys, research have shown, trace them back. These guys downstream. That's why our musicians, these guys are doing actors, our comedians, because they do comedy and they are paid out of money to do brand endorsement. They are busy, endorsing brands online there. They get a lot of money, but they get crushed by that success. Success you are not prepared for will crush you. Maybe we can talk about that in another session. Then, of course, what you worry about keeps you worried for life. So if you're worried about something, you'll set goals against it, okay? And it denies you faith to exercise a foresight to set more, sometimes I call them, radical, big, hairy goals. Sometimes we set very little goals to ourselves because we are worried about little things. So if you're worried about little things, you can only set little goals. But if you're worried about bigger things, you'll actually set bigger goals. If somebody suffering in Nigeria, in Djibouti, worries you when you're here in Kenya, you're going to set international goal. But if you're only worried about your village, you're only going to set village goals. Okay? I hope you get that point. So what worries you actually keep you worried for life? That's it. So even your goals are shaped by, again, the things that matters to you. Now, the worst situation is if you're worried about yourself, you only set goals that are only selfish. Do you know what we define, how we call that? Living for yourself? Living for yourself is the same as what we call poverty. So definition of poverty is not lack. Get me right. It's not lack. Lack of something is not poverty. Living for yourself is actually poverty because it means humanity means nothing if you never existed. And there's a question I always ask people to ask themselves. What will the universe and the planet and the creation miss if you never were born? Will there be recorded anywhere? I think we, simply because Nancy was not born, I think we are losing a lot. Imagine. Ask yourself that question. What will creation miss if you are never born? Will they feel anything? That's a purpose question. Because when you discover why you're born, then of course you start living it and your goals are right to that. Now, there are 3 realms of life, which also informs why you set goals. Then I'll do the last right and then I cross over. Now, you can set goals from survival. And the dark realm, which is dark, is survival. You can set goals for surviving and a living. This is purely where you're dealing with the safety issues of life. you're almost, barely surviving. And we have been taught about survival for the fittest, which is a lie. Hustle, I don't like that word. The hustle. Subsistence for yourself. I grow food for myself, only, and then pay bills. That's survival goals. And many times when you check our goals on survival, if you set goals on survival, they'll only keep you surviving. In fact, survival is like heartbeat, meaning every day you need to survive. So you'll be so busy every day to maintain and stay afloat. You never move an inch, and it will become lifestyle. But you can also set goals for engagement. Engagement is where you have potential inside you, and you want the potential to be released to the world, and you want to account time. This is where you deal with productivity. I want to grow. I want performance. I want support, support other people, and you're there for others. You become engaged in life. You can set goals for engagement. These are better goals, slightly better. Survival goals, I can say that's the worst. And that most of the survival goals will keep you with enough fulfillment, even when you succeed them. But then we have engagement goals, somehow better, but still not the ideal and not the best. But at the heart of this, and majority of us, especially in the middle class, we're in the engagement level, if not survival. If you have survived the survival, you go to engagement, where you can account time. You are 8 to 5, your day, 24 hours, you can give me a rota showing me, showing me every hour what you did. That's productivity issue. So you can tell me I was engaged. I can account for my 2023. It does not necessarily because you can account, it was worthwhile. The inner one is what we call the impact zone. And my goal, my hope for you is that you get into that realm. Or even you are setting goals with mind of things like are impacting others. There's an issue of impact. It's redemptive. As in, if you are not there, other people are going to struggle because you are not there. Leaving a legacy, transcending. If you're employed and you're working for legacy, let me tell you, you don't care about your boss. Because what hold you there is not your boss. That's short term. Tomorrow your boss will be different. But if you're working there for transcendent legacy, let me tell you, you even override all those people we call enemies and haters. If somebody pursuing transcending victory and transcending impact, you are not distracted by the literal things. Remember our topic is about goal setting again. Why most goals are distracted is because they are not tied to a transcendent impact. When somebody is pursuing a goal that is in transcendent impact, let me tell you, they become like the Maji revolution in Tanzania, which we used to read when we were reading history. These guys were radicalized and they were told, go fight the Coronio and you baptize yourself with water. I don't know whether they were going to a river or where. There was Maji, the water. And when you go into the water, it's like you are going to become bulletproof. Of course, there was some ignorance around it anyway. But what I wanted to say is, when you're pursuing something that is transcendent, you actually don't even see the hiccups. You don't see the mountain and the valleys. When you meet Wangari Maathai and the Nelson Mandela type, let me tell you, these guys were not seeing. Wangari Maathai, a prison was not a distractor. Some of us, you have not even gone to a prison, but our goal hardly even see up to April. Why? The goal is not attached to a transcendent victory. When you attach your goal to a transcendent victory, let me tell you, it makes you like a bulletproof. It makes you don't see barriers. You can actually be taken to a prison, and when you're in prison, you still evangelize there, like Paul in the Bible. You can stay in prison 28 years like Nelson Mandela and still fight for liberation. And do you know what makes that different? It's very simple. What makes that difference is you don't pursue the goals necessarily on what you do, but necessarily on who you are becoming. And that's why the rubber meets the roads. So we have 3 realms of life. The 3 realms of life is you can pursue life on what you want to acquire. The acquiring is, I want to acquire a title, I want to acquire a rock book, I want to acquire a PhD. We call that goals that are more around what you're acquiring. But you can also get goals on what you do, execution. But the best goals are actually transformational goals that more help you on who you are becoming. Because after that, it is no longer about others. It is who are you becoming to impact others. This is something we can talk about a whole day in a workshop, so I don't want to indulge on it. My last takeaway, so that I close and I give some room for question and answer. I'll give you something we call platinum goal setting, and then I'll call it a day. Platinum goal setting. There are some things that are very important in goal setting with the background I've already given. I hope you can see my screen. And it's always good to be clear. And the clarity for here, I want to qualify, be clear on the convictions. Note, not clear on the path, because you may not be clear on the path. You cannot tell me you can predict the end of the year clearly. No. But be clear of the conviction of why you are setting a goal, even for your life itself. We say convictions is better than clarity. But if you need any clarity, have clarity of the convictions. Maybe you can note that somewhere. Conviction is better than clarity. But if you need clarity, have clarity of the conviction that you have. Apparently, we have people who have no convictions. People, even our leaders, our politicians, if you ask politicians, give me your conviction, they have no convictions. And that's a problem. So your goals are going to suffer if at all you don't start from a place of clarity of the conviction of why you need those goals. Of course, certainty is an aspect of faith. You need to believe. Certainty is a component of faith, the belief. You need to believe in what you are saying. So when you're telling me you want to start a business, you need to believe in it, okay? Let me give you a story there briefly. I know my time is already up. When I left corporate world after working for 13 years, which is again another almost 9 years ago, when I left, we left with another friend who used to work with another big organization. She was a lady. The lady had saved a good amount of money. She had saved, I think, several millions of money. And she had told me she has saved enough money that when she's exiting employment, she can stay for a whole 1 year. Even if she doesn't get business out there, she's going to survive. She can pay her NHIF, her medical covers, she can continue her golf club, all those things. So we resigned almost the same year. And we used to meet around, discuss how is it. Personally, let me tell you, and I don't know to borrow me, personally, actually, I only had 1 month float. And I was having a family and a child. So, but I had a conviction about why I was resigning. I was not resigning because I had a bad boss, because I was not promoted. No, I was resigning because it was about time for me to scale my conviction to the world. And one employer was too limiting for me. I had already overgrown it. For her, she was leaving because there are good opportunities out there, and she was very happy on top of the things. Now, this is what happened. 7 months into the time, the lady was looking for employment again. She's still my good friend. She was looking for employment, and I use her anyway as a case study, and she know it. So she was already looking for a job, and she came up to me, how come you don't even look bothered? You had not even saved for, I only had 1 month. But I met you 7 months down the line, the lady actually was looking for a job, and within the year, she got back a job. And she became a director in another company later. What is the problem there? The aspect, of course, the conviction, and number 2, the belief issue. Personally, I believe that when I was moving away, it was a response to an obedience. I had to obey. It is not because you are seeing opportunities, and no, don't move because of that, because it may be temporary. So believe what really you are setting. Otherwise, your goal is not going to be successful. Be excited. I mean, nobody can excite you from outside. I know we have motivational speakers, and I don't call myself. I've never done motivation. For me, I'm a mindset transformer. I want to change your thinking. So you have people who, they'll give you excitement that is temporary. I always believe that you should generate passion from within, not from external. You have to be excited. Because you believe in it, in number 2, you need to be excited about it, even when it looks so odd and weird. Of course, tied to that, of course, you need to be focused. We all know that story about, I don't know whether you have ever studied about how the eye works. I don't know whether you know the theory of the eye. The eye, your eye, I think the lens. They say that when you are born, I think it's your eyelid or lens or whatever. Pupil, I think it's the pupil. It's usually very tiny. But the more the child is struggling to see, the more, you can see a child trying to struggle, and she's trying to open her eyes like she's opening her eyes wide. She's trying to create a focus. And the study says, I think in biology or whatever, medicine, the more you focus, the more clear the child starts seeing over a period of time. And it takes several months actually to do that. The child is almost born almost bright in a way. But as she's kind of trying to expose her eyes, the more she does that, the more, and they say that if you deny the baby that time not to stretch, you actually may create some lifetime kind of half brightness or something like that. Number two is when we used to be in primary, when you go out in the sun with a lens and you place the lens in the sun and then you put some grass, dry grass, and that lens converges the rays within a very small radius and you put fire. Yet, the same sun burning the whole universe does not lit fire. But just putting a little glass, that's the rule of focus. That's a whole module we cover actually when you come to coaching about the focus. Then be committed, of course, is where you have to have a sense of clear goals, of course, set by yourself. They must be smart so that you're committed to them. They're achievable and you're able to commit to them. So you have to be committed every day. Here it's an issue of responsibility. When you set goals, don't expect a miracle. You know, especially people who are believers like myself. One of the things we fail in goals is because we expect a miracle to happen. It is you doing what you're going to do will be the miracle. Okay? When you look and say, wow, wait a minute, I had not known I can do this. But it's not my strength, it's God's. You know. But when you leave things to happen by chance, that's why you have people be radicalized some other cultic beliefs. You think a miracle will happen? And a government is not going to feed you. You have to work. You have to be committed on a daily basis. And we can talk about that in another part too. Be driven, again. This is again an aspect of, again, more around the vision. Vision is what drives you. You have to have a vision that drives you. Otherwise, if you don't have a vision, what happens is that when you achieve the goal, you still find empty. You find you're kind of empty and doesn't fulfill you. But when you have vision, you actually celebrate. So it's a mixture of vision and celebrating the milestone after you achieve them. And then, of course, be smart in terms of you have to sharpen the saw, because you could be doing something that you are not good at. Yes, that's okay. But you need to polish in yourself in terms of skills, competencies, so that you resource your execution. Otherwise, you might be having a brand panga trying to cut a tree, and it become very frustrating. If I had a chance, maybe I could have explained around this in terms of what is an art and science in the combination of all these, but we are going to do a part 2. I promise I'll be able to reach out to our host for a part 2 edition, and I'm sure we are going to learn a bit much more from this. I want to pause there because time is really gone, and I allow for a feedback session. I hope I'm still clear and audible on your side.
Yes, very audible. Yes, very audible. Thank you so much. I think I've realized that I make mistakes in my goal setting. So personally, I have learned quite a lot. Before I even give the rest of the participants a question, I want to hog this space first, because there's a thing that you have stated out clearly. Direction over speed. And I think I want to go back to the year that COVID was. A lot of times we find that people don't take the time to really ascertain that particular component, direction over speed. But during COVID, it's like people realized there was a sort of a mind shift that was brought about by the pandemic. And I'm trying to wonder, given the 3 structure of goals, where we have the surviving goals, you have all the way to the transcendent goals. We find a lot of people are meandering on the survival. I think during now COVID, we could see people would pause, because now what you've been doing for the rest of the many years, the pandemic has now forced you. But now that we are back to the grind and the wheel, how do we have this sort of mindset that moves us away from survival, survival goals, if I'd call them that?
Yes. Thank you, Muthoni. Because I know I love numbers. Precisely June 2021, we did something we call website scrapping, web scrapping, and we discovered there were 1.5 billion Google search results on Google of people who are asking how to find my life purpose. This 2021 in June, we did it ourselves. We had 1.5 billion Google search. People are not, when we were threatened, when human is threatened, you go to the default setting. When you are threatened that you found your job that you are going, you are not going, even your wife now, when you're coming home, you have to remove the clothes in the balcony before you get inside. You know, we were skeptical about even each other,
Yeah.
even your own love.
Yeah.
When we were threatened, guess how we defaulted? People started seeking for something bigger than just surviving. Because the question is this, Muthoni. An antelope in the savannah and a cheetah in savannah, do you know what they do every day? Survive. They wake up every day, and survive. That is it. We are not called for that. How is a human being literally who is created with an image of God, of course, and you don't necessarily have to be spiritual, yes? The creation has its own design mystery. We can talk about that even for those who think about evolution. We can discuss that fully. In terms of the design mystery of humanity, it's so wonderful, it's so great, it's so mysterious. There's no way you can't see fingerprints of purpose. Now, I think the gap for me, I always say, it's always lack of that sense of purpose. Because when you lack the sense of purpose, the meaning of life become only for yourself. Now, the thing is I only need to do basic things and I survive. That is it. However, you make that survival become lifetime. So until we shift our mindset to see that, and I remember there's a question I asked, what do you owe creation? And take this, I call it a purpose debt. It's a debt. Like the way when you are born, like now as Kenyans, we are born to pay 2 debts. We pay China debt because every person has a debt attached to you as long as you are born. And the other debt you pay is the purpose debt, which is actually is a very timeless debt. You have to, there's something you owe creation. Now, if you get your life beyond just yourself, to ask yourself, what did I come to this earth to do? And who do I owe? Because there are people in prison, and I know I have some slides I didn't show, maybe you do that another time now. Talk about purpose now, that's a whole conversation.
Yeah.
There are people in prison because you have disobeyed and you are busy pursuing your life. You are just for yourself. There are people committing adultery, what do you call it? Suicide, because maybe Sylvia needed to have written a book and they read that book and they get, a way of shaping their life and they don't commit suicide. When you start looking at life like that, let me tell you, it is very different. Let me give you an example. Let's take flowers. I did a bit of study and I was talking to somebody who is a scientist in one of the institutes we have. And we were talking about flowers because there's something I was trying to understand. And I was asking about the different colors. You have yellow flowers, you have purple flowers, you have white flowers, and all that. I was asked a question. And the person told me, he's a scientist, told me, Gabriel, by the way, each of these flowers is an ecosystem. I asked me, why? In fact, there are some insects that are only attracted to specific flowers. Wait a minute. So there are some insects you only find in a yellow flower. You won't find them in a blue flower. So that means if you remove that flower, you are tampering with, millions of microbiome. I think I talked about microbiome. Some microorganism, which is actually an ecosystem that is sustained by that yellow color. Meaning there are some insects that only see color yellows. It's not like us, we can see the rainbow. There are some insects only are attracted by yellow color because those colors have vibrations, have a way in which they communicate. Now, if a flower has purpose and meaning, a flower is not, as we think flower is for beauty. When you go to the scientific world, you discover that flower is a whole universe. It's like a whole universe where there's some livelihood and organism that can only thrive there. Now, Modoni, the question is this. If our flower has such a meaning, it's an ecosystem. Radia, created in the image of God. Charles Avutia here, created by the image of God. How much more of you being an ecosystem that there's something you owe creation and you impact people and planet? Now, when you start shaping your life like that, let me tell you, even your goal setting shift from the survival goals. Right now, my burden is not of my own. And when the moment I stopped worried about myself, now, quote the scripture again. I think it's Matthew 6, talks about Jesus warning people that do not worry what to do, what to eat, what to drink, what to clothe. Do you know what he's saying? Do not worry about survival. Even pagans worry about the same things. Now, what he's trying to say, your life is not for survival. But by you pursuing the higher calling of your purpose, let me tell you, your survival is already sorted. So you get your survival within one. Let me give the last example, especially for those who are in business. I met a gentleman in 2018. He actually is a guy who is in Nairobi. He ran a shop that sells clothes, suits, men clothes. And I had met a gentleman, a friend of mine in Kigali in an assignment. Then I found him in a very nice suit, executive suit. I asked him, where did you buy this? He told me, I bought it in Nairobi. Then I asked him, I want to know where you bought it. When he came back, he took me to the gentleman. The gentleman, when I went there, I found thousands of suits. It's a very, well-stocked boutique. So when I went there, the guy looked at me and told me, Gabriel, thank you so much for being introduced, because you have to actually be introduced there. You cannot just walk in and buy. He kind of treated like a community. It's like a club. I had to be introduced by this guy. So when I went there, he told me, Gabriel, thank you for coming, but today I have nothing for you. Then I looked at the guy and like, are you putting in the psychology? I've just come. I've not even fitted anything. Then you're telling, and I can see thousands of suits. Some I could see good colors. Then you're telling me, I have nothing for you. Then he told me, yes. The moment you entered the gate, I saw you and I could almost articulate what you need. But I have nothing for you. Then ask him, why? He told me, I don't sell clothes. I don't sell suits. Again, I felt like this guy is playing with my psychology. You don't sell suits and you have suits here? He told me, I don't sell suits. What do you do? He told me, I dress people. Okay, wait a minute. That's a mindset. Selling clothes, selling suits, dressing people. These are two different. Yes, I stayed there for 1 hour interrogating what that means. He told me, Gabriel, let me tell you one of my facts here. One, if you come and fit a suit and it doesn't fit you by 1 centimeter accuracy, not actually less than a centimeter accuracy, even if you give me a million, don't carry it. It's not your suit, it's my suit. I am dressing you, I'm not selling to you. If you get my suit and you give me that money and you go home, you misuse it, you come wearing it again, umeyosha na mkono imekujana kujana, and then you want me to get you another suit, go away with your money. That day, my wife is a witness. I had carried some several good cash in my pocket. I was going to buy a suit. I came back home with no suit. And I didn't suit because I needed to attend a board meeting somewhere. I came home with no suit. Until the guy found something that is fit for me. And then he told me, Gabriel, I have something for you, come. Let me tell you, within the 45 minutes I sat in that boutique, he had sold more than 40, 50 suits. Whereas some other boutique next there, Wahadri said even 2 suits in 1 hour. This guy was, I could see guys come, guys, they know he come, this guy 5 suits. The guy was in business. Remember his mindset. I am dressing. Who doesn't want to be dressed? Nobody. Who wants to be sold to? Who wants to be sold to? The reason even why businesses are failing is lack of purpose. For him, he has identified a more higher meaning. It's not necessary. Selling is a transactional process where you exchange money for what I have. After I get the money, I give you the suit. I don't care how it feels, whether it fits you or not. That's transactional, that's survival issue. When I'm dressing you, I'm interested in you than myself. Because dressing is not for me who is selling. It's for you who I'm dressing. The dressing is more transcendent in terms of meaning, and you're going to attract more people. So even when I coach and I do strategy, whatever for organization, one of the things we try to do is you have to define your organizational purpose. Otherwise, all your strategy are going to be in vain because they're going to be even for survival. So I think we can talk about that in a different conversation. It's a whole conversation. We can talk about the purpose, the transformation for you and also for your business, maybe for those who are running your businesses.
All right. So before we walk away without answering Navute's question, please let us first answer his 2 questions. He asks, number 1, does life's purpose have a relationship with goals?
Yes.
Does one lead to the other?
Good. Thank you so much, Charles. Is there another one? I can answer all of them together.
Yeah, there's another one. There's usually a mess in one's life, and picking 1 or 2 goals from this can be a challenge. Is there a way of developing clear goals?
Okay.
I think you touched on it, but I think you can give a high level.
Yes. I talked about that, yes. Start with the first one. Thank you, Charles. Does life purpose have a relationship with goals? Now, this is the way I divided it into 2. If you don't have clarity of your life purpose, your goal should actually be discovering it first. I hope you get what I mean there. If you don't have clarity, if you don't have clarity of your purpose, your first goal actually, like for this year, forget about finishing your MBA. You'll do even 3 MBAs and still not get anywhere. If you're not clear about your life purpose, make discovering your life purpose become your goal. Now, I'm addressing 2 people. Now, that's one, people who are not, they are ignorant about their purpose. Your purpose should be your goal. Discovering your life purpose should be your goal first. Number 2 is now these people who they already know. They have the clarity of their purpose, and therefore it's an issue of now execution. So the relationship there will be if you are clear about your life purpose, and don't mistake purpose with passion. We can talk about in a whole session. Purpose is not passion. It's not what you love, no. Now, if you're clear with your purpose, then definitely you can now mobilize of course, your convictions, your gifting, your relationship, and all that towards your purpose. And depending on the journey where you are, if I had time, I could have shown something you call the life purpose mapping, which start from convictions, getting your niche, and then from the niche, your mandate, and then how we multiply impact. We usually have a certain 5 stage of purpose-led goal setting. So if you are clear with your purpose, then your focus will be, I know my purpose, maybe I'm not clear about my niche, because you are not called to impact everybody in the world. You're not called to transform everybody. Even myself, I'm not called to transform everybody in the world. 7.8 billion people. No. You need to get to know your niche. A niche is a specific subset of humanity that you are called to impact. You are not called to impact everybody in the world. So if you don't know your purpose, find it. That should be your goal. If you know your purpose, your focus should be now going through your purpose map. For the sake of curiosity, let me show you the purpose map. I won't indulge on it. We can discuss that later. I hope you can see. That's the purpose mapping. Purpose mapping starts with the need. What is the need in the community or in the planet that I am supposed to fulfill? The second level is the niche. What subset of the planet am I called for? You are not called for everybody. Then the next one is a mandate. What redemptive grace do I dispense to them? So you can go through your goals depending on where you are. Then you set goals for a teenager is not the same you set a goal for an adult. No. So depending on where you are, you have gotten clarity of your purpose, then you can go through this process. Let your goal become, clarify your need, clarify your niche, your mandate, your model. And of course, if you are clear with your model, guess what your goals will be? Like myself, I've gone through this process. My main goals, even right now, it's on the red part. How can I multiply and sustain the impact across generations? So if you ask me, I can share you my private, my kind of personal private goals. Actually, they are around that red part. But it's because I've gone through these other processes over a period of. So you set contextual goals and never try to copy anybody. You know where you are. If you're a teenage, you set teenage goals. Don't try to copy anybody. So depending on where you are, goals are contextual. Where you are in the discovery journey, goals should be more contextual to that. I hope, Charles, I have attempted to do that. The second question, I attempted to do that. Because mess in life, of course, should be life lessons. So you should be learning from the mess in life. And of course, if you picked, 1 or 2 goals, of course, there are alternatives. And one of the things that God has given us is the will. He gave you the will because life is full of choices. You had a chance to do 10-degree programs, but you chose 1 or 2. And you need to live with the consequence of your choice, definitely. And then, of course, learn from them and modify. The only challenge is if you don't learn from your mess. So you may need to make your mess to become your message. Your mess is your message. So if there's something you're running away from, let it be a message from a learning perspective. Now, in terms of developing the goals, as I said, it has to be dependent on the level you are in. So you can't come and pick a level of somebody who is already clear with their purpose, and then you're trying to mimic them. No, you're going to fail. Understand your stature in terms of where you are in your life. That you are going to set kind of more, and that's what we do now, coaching, literally. So always advise, make sure you have a coach who is helping you soundboard your thinking so they can challenge why you're setting some certain goals. How can one stay consistent? One, of course, is, first of all, convictions. Establish conviction. Answer the question why and so forth several times. That is the innermost ever reliable consistency method. I know many people will tell you, you become consistent because, of course, you have other people holding you accountable. Let me tell you, even if people hold you accountable, but you lack conviction, it is going to be in vain. You become foraging yourself to appear like you're busy, but you're not doing anything. So the best is the self-accountability by establishing strong convictions. Maybe we can have another session about establishing conviction, because that's a whole module I cover. How do you establish conviction? Because convictions are the knowledge, activation of knowledge that you know as truth within you, that set you into motion. So it's first coming from within, not external. Of course, you may need to build accountability, have people who can ask you any question, have people who can be vulnerable about, who can tell you, Gabriel, here you are mad. This is stupid. People who can tell you as it is, and you don't feel offended. That's accountability group, or we call them vulnerability group. That's okay. But before even you reach out for vulnerability group or accountability, first of all, build a personal accountability based on convictions. Then number 2, of course, is when you set the goals, evaluate them consistently. Myself, I always reflect every week based on the things that I'm doing, I plan to do. Every week I have an evaluation. And I make it so, for lack of a better word, religious. Friday evening, every Friday evening, It's religious. I check on my calendar, I'll check where I am, evaluate where I have missed, where I've dropped some goals. I'll list on it in terms of why did I drop them? Is it that they are not important? And I'll give feedback. Mostly I'll bounce, of course, with my wife now because she knows my style. So you need to create a periodic, consistent, and then create a routine around it. Okay, but remember, motion is not progress. Simply because you're in motion does not mean you're progressing. Remember, we said direction is better than speed. So make sure you're in the right direction, and that takes a bit of more prayerful consideration as you move along. Are you able to help someone identify their right purpose? I do coaching, yes, and maybe Modoni can share my contacts, or I can put some on there. I do purpose coaching. I do a 10 weeks, a very nice, effective program that runs for 10 weeks. And in that 10 weeks, I help you do 5 Fs. 5 Fs. The first F is find your purpose. The second F is you fuel it because it needs some fuel. The third one is you focus. You do vision in there. And then the fourth one is you fulfill it. And then the fifth F is you future-proof, meaning that you think about legacy. So yes, I do that. However, I have no authority to tell you your right purpose. I help and coach you to reflect on it, and I give you tools, but it's only God who can reveal the purpose to you. Because who give you purpose? It's your maker. However, there are enough tools, and I've done it for many years, and within 6 months, people tell me, Gabriel, now I'm clear, this is it. And they go. So yes, I do that. That's why I'm called Purpose Coach. That's my life. That's what I do on a daily basis. And I do work with people in that journey. So I'll post maybe my contact just in case you want to reach out to me later. But also I think Modoni and the team here can also be able to extend the contacts to you. Thank you.
My, oh my, that was so impactful, Gabriel. As I said, for me, I've realized there's some things I may need to recheck, especially the goal plan for every single year. I think we are so obsessed with tracking these so-called milestones and making them seem as if they are goals, rather than having those long-term goals that transcend 5-10 years. So thank you so much. You've put your contact on the chat session. So anybody who wants to reach out to Gabriel, his contact number is 0727 450 202. 0727 450 202. I hope you got that right. But we'll also be having, we've recorded this particular webinar and we'll place it on our YouTube channel, Njogu and Associate Advocates. Please, you can also go back and reflect on all the things that Gabriel has said. And for sure, there is no way that we could have captured everything on this webinar. So you're right, we'll be having a part 2 series to proceed with this conversation. We'll definitely be getting in touch with you for that. So on behalf of ourselves and on behalf of all the participants who have come in, others have come in to the very last end. So please be tuned to the YouTube channel. Thank you so much, Gabriel, for an insightful session. I'm truly grateful on behalf of everyone that is on this call. Do have yourselves a good evening, and until we call out for part 2, do check us out on our YouTube channel just to have a recap of all the big points that Gabriel has told us. And thank you so much. Christine says, thank you so much, Njogu and Nyamu. Karibu sana.
Thank you. Welcome.
As they say in the movies, coming soon to a cinema near you. Part 2 is loaded. Thank you so much and have a good evening.
Welcome. Thank you. Be blessed. Thank you. And wishing you an impactful year ahead. Thank you.